Them is a series that is set in 1952, following a black family who, during the Second Great Migration, moves from North Carolina to an all-white neighborhood in Compton, Los Angeles. And their idyllic home slowly transforms into an epicenter of evil forces that threaten to haunt, ravage, and destroy them. The episode starts on a hot day when a black woman sees a white woman outside her house who has taken an interest in her home. The white woman starts singing about cotton fields and Black Joe, stating her father used to sing it to her. The longer she sings, the more the black woman is irked. She asks the stranger to leave as her husband will be back soon. Afterwards, the white woman creepily asks if she can have the black woman's baby boy. The black woman is more frightened and goes to her baby. She then wakes up from a nightmare. She, her family, and their dog Sergeant are on the road with their children as they head to Los Angeles to start a new life. On September 14, 1953, Henry and Livia Lucky Emery moved their family from North Carolina to Compton, California. Betty Wendell, a privileged white woman, is talking on the phone when she spots the realtor outside removing the picket sign, indicating that the house has finally been sold. Curious about who has moved in across the road, she investigates. Meanwhile, a strange and awful tension is felt by the black couple as their family drives into the suburban community, arriving at their new home while white people look at them. The expressions of Henry and Lucky's faces reveal that it's going to be a difficult settling in period for them. Betty is alerted that the family has arrived, and she and her friends are in complete shock. The Emery family are welcomed by their realtor. Lucky looks across the street, and Betty and her friends look right at her. Henry diffuses the tension by waving at them. Betty puts her hand up to wave and gives a fake smile. Their youngest, Gracie Jean, follows Sergeant, who leads her to the door to the basement. Gracie opens the door and their dog continues to growl and bark at the darkness. Lucky tells her daughter to move away from the room as she finds it eerie. As Lucky looks at the purchase agreement, she reads no N-word blood, but the estate agent tells her that it's not legal to prevent them from having this house anymore, and even Henry already knew about these terms. As Lucky looks outside, plenty of white people are waiting in front of their home. That evening, Lucky is furious at Henry for not telling her about everything. Henry tells her he is tired of running and their family deserves to live a normal and equal life. Lucky readies her gun and tells Henry that none of these people will get a warning if they cross them. The next day, Betty and the neighbors set up their chairs and tables outside the Emery's house and begin playing music so they can watch the new family continue to move in. Meanwhile, Henry prepares for work and asks his wife if she's going to be all right. Lucky is proud of her husband's bravery and cheers him on his first day of work. After her kids have breakfast, she looks outside and sees the neighbors all set up and watching, and she's mortified. Gracie asks if they are playing music for them. The oldest daughter, Ruby Lee, is worried about how long this is going to continue. Their mother gives them reassurance. She tells her daughters that this is the only time they will be sneaking out the back for Ruby to get to the school bus. The three of them head to the bus stop to wait with Ruby. The white teens talk amongst themselves. Subsequently, Henry heads to his new job, and the receptionist assumes he's a kitchen worker. He has to ask for the engineering department 3 times before he's finally heard. A black colleague volunteers to show him around, and he's impressed that Henry's moved to Compton. He informs the newcomer that a black family was driven out of Compton because their white neighbors were pretty terrible people. When they arrive at the doors of the engineering office, the colleague wishes Henry good luck. Henry walks into the office. There's a slight silence as he enters before he walks to where he needs to be. Lucky is fixing their shelves at home when she looks at the white women making a complete ruckus outside of their home. She goes to Gracie, who tells her that she is excited to go to a real school already. She also asks her mom if she misses school, seeing as Lucky is a teacher. Gracie tells her mom that she has a teacher, Miss Vera, from her book Miss Vera Says. Gracie says that Miss Vera taught her a song. She then sings the Black Joe song, and her mother tells her to stop. Gracie insists that it's Miss Vera who taught her the song. Lucky asks her again, but Gracie calls her stupid and she slaps her daughter. She hugs Gracie and apologizes. Gracie asks her if she's no longer crazy. Later, Lucky goes to her bedroom and grabs a small box underneath the bed. She opens it, revealing her baby son's blanket. She holds it to her face and closes her eyes. Afterwards, she goes to the basement to keep the box hidden inside a cupboard. Betty and her friends end the day by discussing the black family, whom she refers to as them. She believes they look exhausted because they came from somewhere worse, and she wants to push them out by making their neighborhood even worse from where the Emery family came from. The men of the neighborhood gather in the garage and also plot how to get the black family out. One of them suggests killing the Emery family dog. In the middle of the night, Gracie wonders where Sergeant is, so she checks out the halls. She sees a tall figure, but because it's nighttime, the young girl cannot make out who it is. The person stands up and slowly walks to Gracie. The person reveals her white hands and then grabs Gracie by the neck. The next morning, Lucky checks up on her daughters. When she looks at Gracie, she sees a mark on her neck and asks who did it to her. Gracie tells her parents that Miss Vera took their dog. Henry looks around the house frantically and eventually reaches the basement to find Sergeant's collar on the doorknob. When he gets to the bottom, he finds their dog dead. The family is in hysteria, realizing what happened. Their cries can be heard from the streets. The episode ends when Lucky grabs her pistol and screams down the streets, telling them to stay away from their home. Their white neighbors open their doors to witness, and from their angle, a black woman looks like an erratic monster screaming down the street. Henry grabs Lucky and brings his wife back inside. The episode begins with a flashback of North Carolina in 1946. Lucky wakes up Henry, who is shaken and in distress, so she feeds him. He seems confused, and Lucky talks about a potential job opening, but Henry is just zoning out. He suddenly gets agitated because his daughter made him a pie, and he couldn't eat it. After dinner, he talks about his recent experiences in the war and the nerve gas he suffered from. In the middle of the night, Henry wakes up to hear sounds on the porch. They head there to find a dog and decide to call him Sergeant. Flashback ends. In the present day, day 3 of Family Emery in Compton, the police head to the family's house after Lucky's outburst. They aggressively knock on the front door to be opened. Henry hides the gun in a safe place and goes to open the door while Lucky and their daughters sit on the couch. One cop shoves Henry to the wall while the other points a gun at the girls. They want to know why Lucky has a gun. When Henry tells them that he's put the gun safely away, the cop puts his gun away and holds a photo of Lucky and a baby boy. He goes to Lucky and asks who it is in the frame. Outside, Betty tells Sergeant Wheatley that Lucky was ranting and raving and describes Lucky as a lunatic. She tells the cop that she doesn't feel safe. The officer explains that without action from a threat, there's nothing much he can do. Betty walks away furious, believing the police are useless. Whitley enters the home and makes his officers let go of the family. The rude cop puts the picture back inappropriately. But Whitley fixes the frame and asks the family what is going on. Henry leads the sergeant to the basement to show their dead bog. He explains that sometimes previous owners may leave traps or poison for wild animals. They find one window broken. Meanwhile, Lucky and her daughters sit still on the couch while the rude cops stand opposite them. Lucky tries telling the police about a mark on her daughter's neck, but it's not there when she tries to reveal it. Gracie believes that Miss Vera took their dog. Once Henry and Whitley come back up, Henry apologizes on Lucky's behalf as she is not herself lately. Henry goes to the backyard to bury Sergeant. Lucky confronts her husband and is dismayed that he sided with the police. Henry tells Lucky that Gracie shouldn't be out telling others about her imaginary friends. Later, Henry drops Ruby off at her school. His daughter asks if her mother is crazy and finds it embarrassing. Henry tells Ruby that Lucky got him right and that they need to work to get her right as well. Ruby is now reassured and she makes her way inside the school where the white people treat her like crap. Meanwhile, Lucky heads down into the basement with Gracie. While Lucky looks for the broken window, she sees Gracie standing on another part of the basement. Gracie tells her mother that Miss Vera said it wasn't the window. Gracie asks her mother if she can see Miss Vera standing on the corner of that basement. Lucky walks to where her daughter pointed at, and Gracie asks if she can smell her. Lucky asks about Miss Vera's smell, so Gracie describes the smell like that of dead things. Lucky stands still, and suddenly, she feels something right in front of her. The broken window starts moving, and she storms upstairs with Gracie. Her daughter asks if she felt something. Lucky tells her she felt it, but asks Gracie not to tell her father about it. Gracie explains there's something bad in the house. Meanwhile, Betty's persistence to remove the black family from the neighborhood grows stronger. She goes over to Midge's place to visit her and notices a new car parked out front. Betty wants to do something about the family across the road, but Midge believes the men should sort it out. Betty realizes that Midge is moving to Anaheim, and Betty zones out. She then hears that Midge is pregnant, making her more furious. Later, as Betty talks to her husband about it, she wonders if it's because of the house value. She convinces Clark to take a stand in the neighborhood. Clark agrees, but only if she makes peace with Midge. But rather than making peace with Midge, Betty puts sugar in Midge's new car in the fuel compartment. At Henry's company, a colleague named Gary tells him to snap out of it as he's zoned out at work. Henry thanks him, but then his boss asks for Henry. The boss tells Henry they don't have many black people around the company, and then he asks how Henry's doing. He tells his boss that the family dog died this morning, so he's pretty upset. After his meeting, Henry goes into the bathroom and screams into his hands. At school, Ruby is harassed by the white students who make monkey sounds at her when she answers a question asked by her teacher. The teacher calls Ruby to the front of the class, writes a note saying that she is disrupting class, and sends her to the principal's office. There, she befriends a girl named Doris. Later that day, Lucky heads to the store with Gracie. The old man managing the store greets them with delight. The mother and daughter walk around to look for carpentry tools. Lucky sees some axes on display which absorb her as she's still enraged by Sargent dying. At family dinner, Gracie tells her father that she saw Miss Vera. Henry is angry and looks at his wife. Lucky aggressively slices a homemade pie and serves him a plate. She whispers in his ear that she's beginning to feel better already. The episode ends when Henry starts to remember his past when his daughter made him a pie, and his hands start shaking as he lifts a piece to his mouth. He keeps seeing flashes of digging into the soil as he struggles and sobs while eating the pie. He then looks at his wife and nods when the plate is clean. Meanwhile, the soil in the yard where Sargent is buried has liquid gushing from the ground.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.